layman language. So if you're going to just cut me off, then we can get off the point, but I'm just trying to stay on point. If you disagree, then just write your points down and after just destroy my points. It's very simple. Anyways, all I'm trying to state is that if you're actually in the space, you'll see what's happening with the developer community and what they're doing and how you'll see that money can transfer in and out of Bitcoin. So when you see the market drop, when you see the dollars drop, you could also correlate and see some other projects, other popular projects that are growing in popularity, and you'll understand what's going on with the money.
Bro.
Yeah, whatever.
Fuck. Y'all suck, bro. Y'all suck, bro.
Hey, I got an explanation.
You guys weren't trying to hear me out anyways.
Fuck. No excuses, brother. That was trash. Come on, be respectfully, brother. You know that was trash. Come on, somebody help me out.
Can I offer a solution?
You're not trying to hear me, but when everyone was trying to break it down in big terms, you guys were saying, oh, these terms are too big, you're going towards the education. I literally tried to give you exactly what's happening.
Brian knows big words.
I can break it down real simple for you guys.
Break it down, brother. Break it down.
Okay. So first off, we're looking at an asset that increased over 400% this year. So any asset that does that, regardless of what it is, has a cool off period.
That's not true.
Yes.
People finish their points. Like they're making false.
Yeah. Make his point. Let him make his point. Make his point, because he's going somewhere. At least he's going somewhere tangible. Like, fuck. We'll say whatever is wrong or whatever. But I want to hear the point. Go ahead, Fitz. You're going somewhere.
Thank you. So anytime an asset has appreciated that much in value that quickly, a cool off period is typically normal market behavior, because market is composed of human emotion. Look at all the emotion in this room. Right. So second, as far as why is price going down in reference to inflation, I think it's more important to look at what's happening with
I'm
Bitcoin.
not emotional.
All right. I think it's more important to look at what's actually happening with Bitcoin, the actual supply, which is a very unique aspect of Bitcoin, because we can peek inside of it by looking at what's called on-chain analysis. And if you look at that, you see that the supply on the exchanges is at an all-time low, right? And people are still, the whales are actually still accumulating Bitcoin, right? So if people are still accumulating and supply is at an all-time low, that means that price could very well, right, just be in a, like I said, in an emotional state. So to keep it simple, understand that the demand is still there. There's still a lot of demand. If people are preparing to sell it, it would actually be on the exchange. They would be sending it to the exchange to get rid of it and not pulling it off of the exchange.
Of a whale? How much do I need?
Over 1,000 coins.
Thank you.
I feel like I want to hear from Yan, because she's like...
Yan. Let's let Yan jump in.
Hey guys, thank you so much for this opportunity. Sorry, I dropped out earlier. My connection is not good. The points that I wanted to was probably passed a little bit, so do forgive me. I just wanted to bring up that, when we have this, can crypto or any other assets save us from inflation? I think it should be at least two-dimensional discussion, because on the one hand you have the impact of inflation, but on the other hand you also have a great factor, which is what the Fed or the other central banks will do. I will illustrate this because, for example, if you have real estate, definitely, you are basically sitting on an asset where you are carrying the spread, right? The spread being, you are receiving rents, and with inflation, your rental income will come in higher, and that protects you, and that, especially that element, protects you against inflation. But at the same time, your funding cost, if the Fed starts to move, and if they, ended up moving quite aggressively, then that's eating into your spread. And when the when the funding rate moves even higher than your rental yield, then that's when the prices can start to fall. So I think it is really not just the one-dimensional, which is going to hedge you against inflation, but it is also to do with currency markets. To do with Fed policies. And the other thing, I think someone, pointed out about currency market, and we I know that a lot of people have expressed that cash is basically trash. But if we look at the U.S. dollars versus most of the G7 currencies, you would see that the U.S. dollar actually U.S. dollar index did very well over the past year. So I think there are still a lot of opportunities in the currency market. As the Fed starts to move, then as the U.S. dollars maybe appreciates even more. So I think overall, the whatever hedge you choose to do is probably not going to, the days where, we can just sit on an asset and just kind of ride it. I think those days will be over by 2022. And it is, a matter of actively manage your assets, which comes back to the real estate factor, because you can actively manage that asset. You can do many things to it. You can improve it, and you can therefore, improve your yield from it. So I think, from that it's very attractive. And, going back to crypto, I think, again, it depends on what Fed does, right? If the Fed is continuing to be behind the curve and they don't tighten very aggressively, I think crypto will continue to do very, very well. Obviously, I think the reason why I think, Grant always bring up this point, and which is very valid, is how much do you have in crypto? Because a lot of people, unless they got in very early, they can't stomach the volatility. So whereas, in real estate, you can probably, you put up 100K and you get 900K. And so you're sitting on a $1 million position, but in crypto, you won't be able to get that kind of leverage, really. And also if the Fed, so that is when the Fed basically continues to be behind the curve. But if the Fed aggressively hikes, then your funding cost of trading the crypto, for those of you who's trading on margin, will also get squeezed. So you would probably not be able to take as much, a position. So that's also going to be hurting the crypto market. So I just wanted to kind of add that, into the discussion. It's not, as simple as, what would inflation do, but it also depends on the reaction from the central banks.
Very well said.
Byron, that sounds like
my God.
Pay so much.
I want to add something short and
Hey,
simple.
Byron, can I give you some
trying to answer the
non-nerd
question
examples,
that somebody was
please?
asking.
God, can we just let Yan's comments breathe for a second? I mean,
Just a second.
she's a woman. She's Asian. She's got that like half Asian, half British accent. She's the smartest person in the room, and she fucking slays me every time she talks. I just need to say.
I love you, Peter.
Sounds like Peter got a crush.
Yeah, that sounds real personal.
I love it. Who's the guy that's going to break it down in a for the dummies?
Hey,
I need the
Byron.
dummy
It's
version.
Marley, the
It's
one
Pete.
I'm
You
trying
ready?
to break it down now.
Yeah, I'm ready, Pete. Let's go.
All right, so I'm going to give you two examples. Somebody incredibly poor, these are use cases, and then somebody incredibly rich, okay? So about 5 billion people are unbanked in this world, meaning there's no bank they can go to. They got to put their money under their mattress. They work a hard day. They might lose their money if somebody robs them. So for that case, people can have Bitcoin. Most of those people in the last few years have cell phones. They have mobile phones. So they can store their wealth on their phone in a Bitcoin wallet. It's safer. They can spend it. I could pay a poor person in Venezuela to do web work for me or whatever. Very appreciative. And it helps. That use case helps a lot of people in the world that just don't have access to a bank. Now, an incredibly rich person. I don't know if you remember, but a few years ago, people in Hong Kong and China were buying condos in New York City for 30, 40 million. A house out in Long Island, 30, 40 million. They wanted to park money, right? Well, that's great. But I personally, if I own a $30 million condo, I'm not going to rent it out. I don't want to be sleeping in it or touching my shit. So those things have carrying costs. So in that case, Bitcoin, that person could buy Bitcoin. They wouldn't have any carrying costs on that wealth. So in that scenario, it could be better for them to have Bitcoin than the real estate.
Also in real estate.
Is that true though? Is it no carrying cost? Is it no carrying
cost, bro? I could cross the border with $1 billion in my pocket. No carrying costs.
Nice. So that's a beautiful thing, and I like that, and that makes sense to me. Another thing that makes sense to me is the fact that I know for a fact that Bitcoin has gone up considerably. Not just Bitcoin, but a lot of crypto has just gone up, and some of it has come back down, right? I get those kind of things, you know, and maybe somebody can help me understand from that perspective, like from a simple look. I put in $1, right, and it's possible I can get $2 over time.
Hey, that's a good point. Now
Jump in, Grant.
Wait a second. Now the entry on Bitcoin is 50,000. So that's a lot different than when it was 500. So now when
it's still early, Grant. Still way early.
Hey, Byron. Okay.
You haven't missed the boat. You haven't missed the boat.
Okay, it's still early. I get it.
Extremely early, Grant. Extremely.
We heard that already, like 5 fucking times, respectfully.
How high do you think it goes in over what period of time?
5 times, really.
It's key to understand as well, you don't have to do anything with Bitcoin. Unlike with real estate where you have to, select a property, you have to manage it.
I want to do something.
All that.
I want to do something with my real estate. This is what terrifies me about this conversation.
Have you seen property taxes? Well, it's apples to oranges.
One mic, brother, one mic.
But I didn't bring up real estate. You did. You brought up the orange. I didn't bring up the orange. I just own it. So all I asked you was, how high does Bitcoin go? You said it's early. I said, good. Now you're talking about real estate. I'm not talking about the real estate. I just own it. So the thing about real estate is I can actually enhance the value of it.
Yeah,
I can give people a reason to pay. That's a business. So on the Bitcoin, this idea that I would just buy something and I don't have to do anything and one day I'm going to be rich is terrifying to me.
You should run another business or the same business.
Yeah,
and
no,
just buy Bitcoin.
But for those of us who work for a living, the idea that I'm just going to buy something and one day for sure I'm going to win, because when I hear you guys talk, and again, I own this. When I hear you guys talk, though, I start getting scared of the asset because I'm like, God damn, these guys talk like this is the surest, greatest play in the history of the world. And that's where I start getting scared.
Totally.
So how high does it go? How high? And you got to understand where I'm coming from. I think you do. Because you guys get very positive, right? How high do you think it goes and over what period of time?
10 million by 2030.
You're hearing views from a community of millions.
You like that? You like that graph?
All of them have different views on the price, but the consensus is obviously that it's going up. So you're going to hear the most loudest, most outrageous, sensational opinions because they're the ones that get into the media. But a lot of people have different, much more nuanced views. So everyone has a different view, but it is very clear after a decade now that this is a very important asset that's not going away. And many countries have tried to ban it with no success. There's a huge network now with tens of thousands of people running nodes, validating transactions on their own, enforcing their own consensus rules, choosing their own, future. So it's a very, it's very important. It's not going away. I don't know the exact price of the entire.
Yeah,
conservatively,
I don't know about
1 million by 2032.
Nothing with it, but I definitely do something as far as an asset where people just like, oh, you just get it, you have it, and it turns into $1 million. Me personally, I trade my Bitcoin every single day in the foreign exchange market, and that's how I'm able to keep a consistent profit. Because one thing about it is, for the entire month of December, I'm already up, $6,000 just from the crash on Bitcoin. And that's because you can make money whether the market's going to be going up.
Yeah, but you're trading.
Right
You're
now,
trading.
We don't do trading.
Correcting itself. Now listen, let me finish. It's a correctional thing that's happening right now. The market is always going to be able to correct itself, and it's always going to come back, and it's always going to retrace. So if you're not into Bitcoin right now, or you're looking to get into it, don't think that just because it's having a period where it's going down or it's crashing or that is devaluing, that it means that anything is going wrong with it. The market is just making a standard correction, and Bitcoin is going to continue to skyrocket.
Isn't it active investing?
How much does your course cost on trading?
I'm actively investing. I actively have an investing portfolio. Yes, I'm actively making money in a Bitcoin crash right now that I've been holding since December 1st. That I'm going to continue
this is not what we're talking about.
Yeah, we're not talking about.
Okay, Grant.
We're talking about Bitcoin, though, and you can trade Bitcoin.
Yeah, but nobody trades Bitcoin like we do. Okay,
Hold on one second. Grant, go ahead and jump in.
Ooh, shit.
You're actively trading. It means you're making profits on trades daily. Is that what you said?
Yes, Grant. Shout out to you, Grant. I follow you on Instagram.
Oh, thank you. And I'm trying to understand this. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. Now, when you make those trades, are you paying taxes on those trades?
So, yeah, when they have the swap fee, that, like, it comes out immediately.
Tax.
Yes,
Yeah, it's about tax.
Yes.
That's a no.
So when it goes up 20... Yeah.
Should be a yes.
Okay, hey, they're having a conversation. Can all of the extra people fucking be quiet?